Welcome to Bookworthy, where we talk about the heart behind the books your kids are reading. Today, we're talking with author Heather Holleman. She is the author of several books for adults, such as Seated with Christ and Sent, Living a Life that Invites Others to Jesus. But in the last few years, she's taken these sweet truths and turned them into a middle grade series called the Elita Brown series. In the third book of the series, it's called The Elite Seat. Elita must discover how to persevere amidst the unique temptations of middle school popularity and the problem of self-consciousness, as she and her friends learn God's plan to live a life of forgiveness, authenticity, and service to others, even when seventh grade survival feels impossible.
That's right.
Welcome to Bookworthy, Heather.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
I am too. After reading the Elita Brown series, I listened to your book, Seated with Christ. So I feel like I already have you in my head from because you did the audiobook on that. And so I'm like, this is just going to be a continuing conversation.
I'm glad. By the way, it is very hard to record an audiobook. I just want to give a shout out to voice actors. My throat ached for days. I'm not trained, Valerie.
Yes, we definitely, in finding all the elements of being an author, you discover things that you're like, wow, okay, these people.
Yes.
This is a career. Well, to start us off, let's start with our random question of the week, which is, what is your favorite thing about school, growing up and now as a writing professor?
Okay, my favorite thing is school supplies. I was someone who packed her backpack. Weeks ahead of time, it would be ready by my bed. I love pencil cases and I love planners, like your little daily calendar. All of my friends are trying to get me to get on Google Calendar. No, I keep a hard copy planner. I love pens. I love school supplies. I love it all. So school supplies and packing the backpack.
I love that. And it's funny, this year before school got started, we were so busy. It was hard to get to the school supply shopping. And my kids were like, Mom, we've got to do this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why are we so excited? Like, I can just do a Walmart order, but they're like, we have to go and do the school supply shopping.
Everyone does like Amazon or Walmart, but there's something so cool about walking the aisles and picking out your folders. It's so sweet. I love all of that. I miss it. What nostalgia. We had Trapper Keepers and
yep.
I loved Garfield, so I had Garfield-themed everything, lunchbox, all the stuff. Did you? Did you have like a theme?
I can't remember. I used a lot of paper bags.
Yeah.
But when I did have a lunchbox, this is going to age me a little bit. It was Wildfire. It's like this old cartoon about a girl and a horse with rainbow hair. And
yes. I love that. Horse. Okay.
Yes. So it's always a fun time. And it's just about getting excited about something new, just like we do at New Year's and that kind of thing. It's just excited to try something new. And your books do take place as your main character, Elita Brown, walks into seventh grade.
That's right. Yes.
Grade, which I have my own trauma with seventh grade.
I think everyone does.
I don't think anyone escapes seventh grade without a little bit of social trauma. I'd love to hear kind of your summation of these books.
Well, I wrote the Elita Brown series really in response to the need that moms kept asking me, we love the book Seated with Christ, Living Freely in a Culture of Comparison. And I would be going around teaching women how to know they're already seated at the best table with Jesus. And I would share with them that wound of fighting for a seat began for you. I can guarantee you it began for you in middle school. And women would start weeping. Valerie, they would be like, I remember the exact moment I walked in and knew I wasn't popular. Now, when I travel around, I'll say, okay, how many of you remember middle school as like the best years of your life? No one raises their hand. Maybe one person in a crowd of 1,000 women, maybe one. And so I like to bring women back to that moment. And what they said to me was, I would give anything if I had a book that my daughter could read to prepare her, to kind of fortify her heart for that moment when you walk into the lunchroom and you realize you're not popular, that you don't have a seat. And so the first book is called This Seat Saved. And my character, Elita, that's what they say to her. She can't sit with the popular girls. And it's also about like the unique problems of that age, the 8 to 12-year-olds suddenly you become conscious of like clothing, brands, what all the girls and boys are wearing. There's going to be some kind of problem with the phone, whether or not you're going to have a phone or not have a phone. So all those are in there as a way for parents to let their daughters and even sons read these books too, but they'll read them and there's great discussion questions that help families really navigate how tumultuous these years are. So by the end of this Seat Saved, Elita realizes she is already seated at the best table with Jesus. And it's one of those books that I cry when I reread it because middle school was so bad. I remember the exact day. Do you? Do you remember that popular crowd and like you weren't sure your place?
I had like my bestest friend basically tell me, I don't want to be your friend anymore because you're not cool. Because I didn't have the cool clothes. And I was like, it wasn't at the latch table. It was in the hallway. But I do can't like pick the day itself. But I remember just that gut wrenching, like I'm alone feeling. And
that happened to me. And it's usually about the clothes or about, and they'll even articulate. Girls don't mean to be mean. I don't know what it is about this age group, but they'll actually say to each other, like, yeah, you're not pretty or you're not wearing the right clothes. So Book 2, The Disappearing Seat, really does deal with that issue of affluence. What do you do when all your other friends have money and the clothes? And it is a really deeply theological look at jealousy and how to know you're seated with Christ and all the riches of God's kingdom are available to you. And when you recognize his good gifts, you can be freed from jealousy. So these books aren't just like simple little books that your sixth grader's going to read. You're going to go deep into like, what does it mean that everyone else has all this stuff? And my character is more on the lower end of the economic kind of like her dad works at a hardware store. Her mom's a teacher and teachers make a great salary. But in this community, my character Elita feels poor. She feels like she doesn't have this. They don't go on vacations. They don't go out to eat. And I live in a community here in Center County where there is that kind of divide. Either you've got a ton of money or you're someone who is working hard every day to pay the bills. So I really wanted to capture that kind of socioeconomic reality that when you're 10 years old, you start to realize it, if not younger.
Yes, you definitely start to see it. And I think, what is it? When my son was in third grade, which is kind of that 8, 9 age is when those conversations started. And I was like, okay, I didn't have this conversation until 7th grade. Why are we having this in third grade? But it is coming earlier and earlier, and kids are more aware because they're just have so much access to so many things. And it is just this, why don't we have this? Why is this different? But I love the message of the disappearing seat that, we can be excited about someone else's seat. Because we can hold on to our own seat and we can trust that Jesus still has our seat and our seat is valuable. Mm-hmm. And I think that is huge in our, like you said, your comparison culture, and that, we can be happy for someone who has a good seat and we can be happy with the seat that we're given. And golly, I wish I had that message when I was in 7th grade.
I know. And I have to teach myself. I mean, the reason why the books are so powerful is it's a lesson that I constantly have to remind myself of. I quote Ephesians 2, 1-10 almost every day to myself that talks about being seated with Jesus in the heavenly realms. But the thing I love about book 2 is it also teaches a journaling practice. I'm someone who loves research. I love social science. I love neuroscience. And my character learns the power of journaling, and it helps with her anxiety and her jealousy. She learns to talk to God, write down 5 things she's worried about, 5 things she's thankful for. Her mentor, Mrs. Bergley, teaches her a very complicated word, savoring, that when you savor the good gifts around you, the research shows that you tend to live a happier, less depressed, less anxious life. So this is a deep little book. The Disappearing Seat's sort of hard to get through. It's set in winter. It's supposed to feel kind of sad and dark. I mean, this is a sad, dark time for her. And then by the time you get to book 3, The Elite Seat, which is what I think you want to talk about today, it's about what happens when you do become popular. And that book is just out. And I really think girls are going to love this, because what happens when you do have that moment where, oh, wait, I'm getting a lot of attention. So did that ever happen to you? Like in 7th or 8th grade? No, I know. And me neither.
No, that was never a problem I had.
Okay. Well, someone did. Actually, it was someone from Dallas who told me, could you write a book more about what it's like to be Margot? Because she grew up popular and some of the stress related to that. So in the elite seat, it has to do with a moment where she goes viral in a video with Margot. So I want moms to talk about what social media is doing to kids, the stress that this single video causes in the life of my character. And it's also about self-consciousness because people start saying mean things about her appearance. And it was right around 7th or 8th grade where I was teased for my complexion, when you have acne or when you don't like your hair. I mean, I was so self-conscious, Valerie. I thought about my appearance all day long. This is a book that's going to help girls get some really biblical truth about how to handle their appearance.
That's beautiful. I love that. I know it's like, what is it? The Elite Seat's coming out. It just came out. So it's one of those like, I can't wait to read it.
Get your hands on it. Yes, yes.
Because it is, appearance, whether you are popular or not. I mean, what was it? 7th grade. I had a perm. So
the perm,
the perm and the big bangs of the 90s. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, you got to curl them. They look like a little claw with the with the hairspray.
Curl back. And
when you were in the South, were you raised in Dallas?
Yes,
were you raised in? Okay. So did you start wearing makeup in middle school?
Yes, I did.
Yep, that's when it all starts. 7th and 8th grade.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've got characters in the elite seat where, all of a sudden you're invited into the popular crowd and it becomes really bad for her because she can't tell who likes her for what reason. And then this book really pairs with Seated with Christ as the moms or the caregivers are reading it because it answers the question, wait, if popularity isn't my goal, what am I made for? Like, what does God want me to do? Now, I know the 13-year-old next door to me, there is so much stress about choosing your thing. What's your activity? Are you going to be a dancer? Are you a gymnast? What are you doing? So the question,
where are you going to college?
Yeah. If the question of the elite seat is now that the popularity issue is, if that's not the goal of my life, how do I know what are the good works God has prepared for me? What am I actually doing? And so she learns, and I don't want to give anything away, but she learns like, okay, what did you make me for, God? What am I doing here? And so, and again, it's set in the woods of Pennsylvania. So the setting is very symbolic of kind of what's going on in her life. And so the key featured animal or creature, there's always a little creature. This one is the hummingbird. And so there's a little flip book where you're going to see the hummingbird flying across the bottom of the pages. The last book was the hibernating bear, and the first book was the fox. But each of those animals becomes symbolic of something the Lord is trying to teach her.
I love how you've woven that in, because I know when I was in 7th grade, an animal was easier to understand than people.
I know. I love Trumpet of the Swan and Charlotte's Web and all the E.B. White books. I loved anything where an animal was in that book.
But you've done a great job with the fox, the bear, and even the contrast between the bear and the owl and the disciplining seat. And then, I saw a turtle on the cover, so I'm sure the tortoise is going to come into play with the hummingbird a little bit too.
There's the turtle and the hummingbird, and there will be one more book coming out. So the whole bundle will be 4 books. But I love that because don't you remember being in middle school and loving to get cozy and read? I mean, Valerie, we did not have phones. I didn't have any gaming system. The TV was never on. We didn't have a computer. So after school, especially on a cold autumn day, you get all cozy. I would read. I thought it was a big deal when I was allowed to read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, and Judy Blume. So did you read those or were they too adult?
Judy Blume I did. And what is it? Oh God, Margaret I didn't
And Beverly Cleary. You remember Tales of the... Wait, who wrote Tales of the 5th Grade? Was that Judy Blume or Beverly Cleary?
Yeah, Judy Blume wrote, was it Tales of the 4th Grade Nothing? And then Ramona Quimby. Yes, there we go. We'll get it straight, maybe. But it's one of those, I grew up in Texas, so we didn't really get cozy very often with books, but...
My goodness.
Because you get cozy, maybe for 2 weeks.
Okay.
In Texas.
Well, there's a lot of coziness in this book. Or maybe you're a young reader, can be out on the porch with a cool breeze, and sweet tea, reading books. So
Most definitely a sweet tea for sure, certain.
I got that. So you guys don't have like the fall. Did you enjoy reading about that in This Seat Saved, is kind of the way fall comes in Pennsylvania? Did you like learning about that and experiencing that?
I did enjoy the process of fall and a particular lake element
The
that's
creek, the
in
vernal
the creek,
pond.
the
Yeah.
vernal pond. Yes, that was very neat because here in Texas, we get 2 weeks of fall, maybe before,
Okay.
because like if it's a good fall, we'll get like maybe 2 to 3 weeks where it's slowly getting cooler, but usually it's cold for 2 weeks, then it freezes, all the leaves fall off, and we're
Yeah. And
now
then
in
you're
winter.
in winter. Yeah. But winter isn't terribly cold, right?
No, it's not terribly cold. It just sticks around and it's usually wet. So
Yeah.
wet
Yeah.
and cold is just not, I don't think winter's fun for anybody unless you're like a kid in the snow.
That's right. That's right.
But I love that you are kind of taking this in seasons. And I love how your book for women, Seated with Christ, does kind of talk about that affluence and,
Mm-hmm.
all those different parts of our own heart that need identity and belonging and value and just
That's
these
right.
core ideas that we all need. And why did you feel like these topics have become such a focus in our culture?
Well, honestly, I think it's a quintessential experience across ages and cultures because as I've been going around, I published Seated with Christ in 2015. It doesn't matter how old a woman is or where she comes from. She's still, I think it's part of the fall. Like, Eve was in paradise and the enemy was able to convince her she was missing something. So I see that seed of like comparison and jealousy. And then as you read through the Old Testament, you just see it's really about jealousy and power and who has a seat. I mean, if you read it through the lens of like fighting for a seat, you'll be like, wow, this is the problem in the human heart. And so the reason why it's such an enduring book is when you get to Ephesians 2, you're realizing that Paul is writing from a Roman prison, but he seems to know some secret. He literally knows some secret that we don't know, and it's how to be content in all
All
circumstances.
circumstances.
And the secret is Ephesians 2:6, which just says, we've been seated with Christ. God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in the heavenly realms in Christ Jesus. And that image of the seat has a lot of theological continuity. It begins in Samuel, when David says, is there anyone I can show favor to? And that's that beautiful image of Mephibosheth sitting at the king's table. Psalm 23, that he prepares a table for us in the presence of our enemies. And then, of course, the wedding supper of the Lamb. But you get this idea of there's a seat waiting for you throughout scripture. So I love it. And even in Colossians, Paul says, set your mind there, not on earthly things. Set your mind on things above where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. So we're fighting for a seat at the table. You will continue to fight for a seat with the 3 A's: appearance, affluence, or achievement. Those are the ways you're going to try to belong. And the message of Seated with Christ is when you're seated, you're already at the greatest table with the greatest king. You can adore, access, and abide, which are my 3
Yes.
favorite verbs to help counter. And young people can learn those. It doesn't matter. I think 10-year-olds, even 8-year-olds, I've seen grasp these truths. Like, I can picture this. It's like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, or maybe I'm picturing just I'm at a special seat with Jesus. I even had a really young reader. I think she might have been 7 or 8. She goes, I love this seat with Jesus. And she goes, and it's not like musical chairs. Nobody's going to pull the seat out from under me. It's my seat. Like, she was thinking of diminishing seats. So even little kids are like, yeah, I have a seat here. So
I think that is just really the call of our heart, is to belong and be
yes,
wanted. Again, like you said, back Adam and Eve, that was the lie that they believed that they didn't have enough.
I
That
know.
And that started it all. And it's one of those and we live in a culture that's always work for this, do this. The harder you do this, the more you do, the more affluence, the more,
Yeah.
accreditation you'll have. And it's like, there's such a peace in knowing that we don't have to do that.
No. And I love how you said that about the lie is that we don't have enough. That's a great way to say it, Valerie.
Yeah.
Because I bet you have listeners right now that are like, yeah, I woke up depressed because I don't have enough. Well, let's see. Let's really ask questions here, because Paul was in a Roman prison. Some people are like, you don't understand the seat I have. And I'm like, really? Paul was in prison. He was cold. He was hungry. And Johnny Erickson wrote the foreword to this book. Do you know who that is? You know why I asked her?
Why did you ask her? I have to.
Do you want me to tell
I know
you?
yes,
okay.
Please do.
So Johnny Erickson, if you know, she had a diving accident when she was a teenager, young teenager, and she was in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. And I heard her say, I would rather be seated in my wheelchair knowing Jesus than be given a chance to walk without him. And it was about her seat. She did not like the seat God had given her, but it didn't matter because she was seated with Christ. And she wrote the foreword to my book. And it was one of the greatest honors of my life to have Johnny Erickson read Seated with Christ, resonate with it, and write that foreword.
I love her story. And
I know
the foreword that she wrote for the Seated with Christ book too, just because if someone who does not have what the world would say is a good seat can live a life so devoted to Christ and so focused on the good of God.
Yeah.
Then where do I have room to complain? And so it's a beautiful, beautiful story for certain.
Yeah. You're really making me think of good ways to phrase this. So yeah, like with no, seriously, children who are always like, Mom, we don't have enough. I need this. I need this. That was our life when my girls were in middle school. Like, why aren't we going to Paris? Why can't I buy? I mean, at the time it was like Lululemon or now it's like, the Canada Goose Parker, the Beats headphones. I don't know what the brands are in Dallas. We're in a farming community. Yeah, we're in a farming community up here. So I feel like we're 2 years behind. Like all the girls are still wearing Lululemon. And I feel like in the South, they're on to something else. I don't know. You know what I mean? We're in a small little town up here.
And I'm not the great barometer for brands or that, because I have boys, and boys are just like, whatever. Do I have to wear clothes? I'm like, yes, you have to wear clothes. They're not
into the shoes. Like my students at Penn State are all into like Hoka, On Cloud, Nike. It's all the same. These things they're the same.
They don't change.
Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you. Sometimes, older people will read these books and do book clubs because they're amazed at how they think so much has changed. But when they read the series, they're like, you know what? This is exactly how I felt in middle school. And they're in their 80s talking to younger girls like, look, these are age-old problems. This is not new. And we're going to give you the wisdom of how to get through this.
Yes.
So I love it
Well, I love how you did that with your Miss Burgley character. And we all desire and want that older voice speaking into us. And I love how you introduced her and, The Seat Saved and, just kind of how she influences Elita and reminds her consistently that she's seated with Christ. We are seated and we don't have to strive so much because Jesus did it all for us. And so I love that we've lost a little bit of that intergenerational conversations in our American culture. And I love how this book kind of presents like, oh, my parents do have wisdom and have experiences.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I know.
The neighbor down the road, she might need a friend, that it'd be okay to be a 11-year-old friend just to encourage her. It's neat to see a return to what God desired for us, a community of believers of all ages coming and reminding each other when we can't see our seat that we do have a seat with Christ. So I love this series so much. And I've seriously handed it to my nieces and been like, this is required reading. I may not be your teacher, but required reading before 6th grade. Here.
Yes. I love that. Required reading.
Yes. So thankfully, usually my nieces are like, read anything you give me. I'm like, you have to read these.
You sound like a great aunt to them. I would love to have someone like you giving me books saying, I love it. My love language is books. I have a mentor who I based Mrs. Burgley off of, and I'm going on a walk with her this afternoon. Her name is Sandy, but she always has a book for me. She always says, Heather, I want you to read this book. You need this book. And so she literally will have a book for me today, I am sure.
You'll have to email me what that is, because I would love to know, because books are love languages to me too. And it's one of those, if I give you one of my books, you're loved, because
I love that.
Because they're little treasure chests to me. So, well, Heather, tell us a little bit what we can expect next from you.
Well, after the Elite Seat comes out, I have finished writing book 4, which will wrap up the series. And so there'll be a nice little bundle of 4 books for your young reader. And then I am doing a lot of traveling and speaking. And one of my favorite things is when a church invites me to do a mother-daughter tea or a mother-daughter afternoon where the moms come and we talk about being seated with Christ and the daughters come and we talk about middle school. I've done a couple of those events. And so I'm doing a lot of that. And I just love engaging with the middle school audience. So I'm having a good time.
From reading Seated with Christ. I could see how that book came first, but you can see how it very heavily influenced your desire to write for this age group. And I love that you're able to minister to not just the parent, the mom, and not just the daughter, but to both, that the same wound is there, the same desire is there, and that they can come together and just relish their place with Christ together. And I love
good verb. I love relish. That's great. I love relish.
We'll be good verb buddies for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Well, where can people find out more about you and your books, Heather?
Well, the ministry my husband and I lead is now called Seated and Sent. And so you can always go to that website. But I think my personal website, heatherholleman.com. Also, all of my books are available from Moody Publishers or Amazon or wherever books are sold. But always check to see what these kind of bundle rates are. Moody is also awesome if you represent a school or church or ministry. They will give bulk discounts. So I love it when schools, especially Christian schools, they'll have the 7th graders all reading, and then I'll come in and do an author visit via Zoom. I love it. Oh my gosh, Valerie, these kids, they ask the best questions like, how did you name Mrs. Burgley's dog? How did you figure out dialogue? Like, I love talking to young writers.
They are able to as a writer, you get this excitement and this heart and with what you're writing. And I think kids get it. And that's their heart at everything. They want to explore everything. And I do love school visits and how that just empowers me to want to write more.
So you write as well?
I do. Yes.
What are you working on right now? Am I allowed to ask? I know our time's wrapping up, but what's your next project?
Well, what is it? I've self-published 2, and I am ink is fresh on the page for a new children's book, hopefully coming out in the next year. So.
Are you self-publishing or do you have a traditional publisher for that?
Traditional publisher this time around.
Are you serious? I cannot wait. And it's a children's book?
It is.
I cannot wait. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am still trying to wrap my brain around that. But
no, it's so fun. I've done self-publishing and traditional publishing. And what I love about working with a publisher is the team of people that really start to care about your book, and that people, if you read This Seat Saved, that's original artwork on the cover and the designs. They have a whole marketing team. Have you enjoyed that so far? Have they done the cover for you and all of that?
We are just getting started. So we are in developmental edits right now.
But you're going to love this. I'm so happy for you.
I'm excited. We'll see what God wants to do with it, but we'll enjoy my seat and let him drive.
Yes, I love that.
Too fun. Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I loved our conversation.
It's been a lot of fun. And thank you for joining Heather and me on this episode of the Bookworthy Podcast. Check the show notes for any books or links that we discussed, and let us know in the comments what's your favorite thing about school. Be sure to like and subscribe to discover more great books together. Happy reading!